What is up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another figure unboxing slash review. In this one, we will be reviewing Playmates Battle Mechagodzilla 2021 Mechagodzilla with Proton Scream. Alright, let's do it. So this is another Mechagodzilla 2021 Playmates unboxing review. That's of course the Mechagodzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong. Playmates released a variant figure. Of course they did an original release. This is a second iteration of it, it's a repaint of it. So let's dive into it and find out, does this thing justify its existence? Starting out with the standard Godzilla vs. Kong packaging. Godzilla Kong, standard blue, orange banner stuff. You know the banner, you love the banner. Back of the box looks good. I really like the Mechagodzilla here doing the proton blast. He stands out very well against the containment facility that Mechagodzilla was being housed under before he was raised up in Apex's headquarters. Good stuff with that. I like that they add that, showing the battle damage removable piece, and then another wave of Playmates figures. Good stuff on the side, the burning city. Classic Playmates Godzilla vs. Kong packaging. I think the Godzilla vs. Kong packaging is very simplistic. I really like it. On the bottom you've got a little display showing how to pop the tail on, because of course he comes with his tail off. Now this Mechagodzilla comes with two accessories. He comes with the Proton Scream, and he comes with the chest battle damage piece, so the normal battle damage that all the Playmates figures come with, and then instead of like a heave or anything like that, he comes with the Proton Scream. What a weird name for it. I guess it's not an atomic breath. I don't know what I'd call it. Mechagodzilla's laser breath? I don't know. Laser beam? I don't know. But Proton Scream's a weird name for it. Let's just get this guy out and then I'll talk about him, because I've already got thoughts on it. Mostly thoughts on things that could have been. Here's Mechagodzilla fresh out of the packaging, screaming into the night. Why is he screaming like that? Close your mouth, buddy. Here's Mechagodzilla fresh out of the packaging, and here's his battle damage accessory. This is the same battle damage accessory that came with the first Mechagodzilla, except that it's now a darker color. Which is kind of the thing with this guy, is that he's the same guy as he was the first time, just now a bit darker. It goes in there all right. Actually, from the front view, it looks pretty seamless. I mean, when I kind of wiggle him, you can see the faults in it. It's from the side that you can really see where the battle damage was placed in, especially on this side. Here's the tail. Tail looks really neato with the new red spines. I like that a lot. That looks really cool. Super easy as far as Playmates is concerned. If you can't put that on yourself, you're so weak. Good news is, as far as parents are concerned, it's a rubbery tail, so it's like not dangerous. It's easy to pop on. Doesn't pop off easily. Battle damage piece goes in nice and easy. Could get lost. That's the kind of thing I would lose as a kid. The Proton Scream itself is actually also rubber. I thought it was going to be a bit harder plastic than I was expecting, but it's just this rubbery piece. Now, if it looks familiar, it's because it's the atomic breath. It's just the atomic breath that they released with their Godzilla, but now it's red, and I don't like that. That's very lazy. They're identical sculpts. They just had taken the atomic breath and they've now turned it into a red. The red is a lot less translucent than the blue is, which takes away some of the cool factor of it, which is a missed opportunity because Godzilla's atomic breath and Mechagodzilla's Proton Scream don't look anything alike. Godzilla's atomic breath is really wavy and chaotic, and Mechagodzilla's beam is very straight and it's a laser, so it's very straight and to the point. This does not capture that at all. This is just a red atomic breath. But that does mean is for funsies, you can mix and match. That means he's going to be able to shoot the red atomic beam. That's kind of neat. That also means you can have Mechagodzilla shooting blue and Godzilla shooting red and have them clashing in some sort of parallel dimension where Godzilla's more powerful and Mechagodzilla's weaker. Because that's how those colors typically work in Godzilla films. Blue is not as strong as red if you're in the Godzilla universe. Bam! Proton Scream Mechagodzilla. End the video. Before we get into the review, this video is brought to you by Mechagodzilla COLA. This is Mechagodzilla Colossal Cherry Soda. Mechagodzilla COLA. This was an FYE Mechagodzilla drink made for Godzilla vs. Kong. It's kind of cute bottle. I actually really like the design on it. I like the red and the metal. I like that weird Mechagodzilla stencil they've got going on. I think the color's nice. It was a red drink. I've had this bottle since 2021 waiting to show it off because I keep forgetting that I have it. It was really yucky. It tasted like medicine. It tasted like Pepto-Bismol. Anyways. It was not very yummy. It was kind of ish. So if you wanted a kind of ish soda, I recommend strongly Mechagodzilla COLA. Back to the review, here is the Proton Scream Mechagodzilla. So I'm going to quickly cover my bases here because I have reviewed the regular Mechagodzilla before. If you want a more in-depth review on the sculpt and everything, go check that out. Overall, let me just say, I think the Mechagodzilla sculpt is pretty good. I think Playmates has done a very good job adapting 2021's Mechagodzilla. There's some things that they could have done better, for instance, little details, like the fact that Mechagodzilla has these kind of crisscross patterns on his big bulky shoulder plates. They don't have them on here. They're missing the X's that should be on them. Meanwhile, they are present on the leg versions. So it's like a lazy thing that they chose not to do. His missile silos on the back look pretty epic. Same with these big hip thrusters. Those look pretty good. His shoulder pads look awesome. The whole thing just overall looks pretty good. The face has a strong resemblance to the Mechagodzilla from the film. They did good sculpting details on the inside of the mouth, so I'm impressed with that. The chest overall looks, I'd say, about 60% accurate to the film. It looks the most accurate on the outsides of the chest. It's just this middle portion that doesn't really look like the Mechagodzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong. You guys pointed out to me that when you open his chest up, those are supposed to be missile silos inside of his chest. That was kind of the argument on why those should be there. I don't really have an issue with those being there. I think it's one of the more interesting and intricate designs on the inside of a Playmates battle damage. I just personally don't care because Mechagodzilla's chest does not open up to fire missiles like that in the movie, so it doesn't do anything for me. Maybe that's like a concept art thing that they've carried over into the figure, and if that's the case, that's pretty neat. On the whole, I'd say, like, as far as a children's toy, children's market Mechagodzilla goes for Godzilla vs. Kong, this is a pretty solid one. I don't have the Bandai one, so I can't judge the sculpt of the Bandai one versus this, but what I can say is I think that this is very solid. I'm very impressed with the sculpt for a children's toy of a Mechagodzilla. I think it's good stuff. As far as the articulation goes, this is going to be the exact same as the first one. Mine actually feels a little more sturdy than the original Mechagodzilla, and there is a downside to the intense articulation this figure has. For a children's toy, this figure is highly articulated, very cool, very fun. It does lead to the Mechagodzilla not being very sturdy. Like, the original release doesn't stand very well. He collapses and squashes a lot because he has so much articulation and his joints are just really loose, so he falls into pieces quite frequently. But this guy has a wide range of articulation. This one's feeling a little tighter than the original. I really like that his foot can twist and turn. That's good stuff. He's got an articulated knee. He can do big movements with it. His legs can basically like 360 flip around. Not only can they open up wide, but they can also go back and forth. I think that's a double joint right there. Good stuff. That's really impressive motion. Same with the shoulders. The shoulders have this really impressive range of motion where he can do all sorts of movements. For some reason, they did not give him an elbow joint, which feels really obvious and like you would, nor did they give him a clamp joint right here on the hands, which again feels really obvious like you would. Plus, Mechagodzilla and Godzilla vs. Kong had a spinning hand and it was freaking epic, and these ones do not spin, so that's a shame. But in order to offset that with the sculpt, they've given one hand an open clawed aesthetic and the other hand a more closed clawed, and I appreciate that. Final point of articulation is on the mouth, and I understand why the head can't turn side to side because he kind of needs it to be connected to the neck in order for this kind of whole neck piece to look good. So that's a bit of articulation we're sacrificing for the sculpt, and I'm okay with it. Including the tail, we've got 1. I'm going to count this as 2. I'm not going to count this as a separate joint. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points of articulation on this figure, but it could go up to 14 depending on how you count your joints. That's a pretty impressive range of articulation on a figure. Normally for Godzilla figures, you're looking at 5 or 6, so you're over double the articulation on a Godzilla toy. Good stuff. Where this figure goes a little awry for me is it just doesn't justify its existence. It doesn't do enough. This is supposed to be the Proton Scream Mechagodzilla. He's all charged up, ready to fight Godzilla. And the only way I can explain this is by comparing him to the original Playmates Mechagodzilla, who just looks more like Mechagodzilla. He's got this silver mechanical look to him. His back spines pop out really well because of it. This one has a really nice contrast in the paint where he's got this nice dark gray kind of look, not movie accurate, but at least it's wildly different than the original, like they stand out apart from each other. And they've given him these translucent dorsal spines, which are fantastic. Those are great. I like the dorsal plates on the back, especially because on the tail, they're very translucent. It's very cool stuff. They're like this soft rubber, so you can kind of bend them and they're malleable. He's got the nice beady red eyes that stand out well on this design. They pop, they're noticeable. He just doesn't do anything for me. He's not different enough. This guy could have easily come with the Proton Scream accessory and you wouldn't need this one. This one wouldn't need to exist. What they could have done to justify this thing's existence is, even if you want to give it this more dark gray aesthetic, go in and highlight him. Give him red highlights all through the chest. chest. He should be having red highlights all through his chest, all into the bottom of the chest, all through the stomach, into the arms, especially because he's supposed to be doing his Proton Scream. So it should be going all through the neck. His neck should have these red veins. You should be able to see the red wiring all through him. And I know it's like, this isn't a Monster Arts figure. They're not going to put that level of detail into it, but they're not doing enough to justify this guy's existence. You could have even gone a step further and put highlights of blue in the hands, because of course when Mechagodzilla is all charged up on the Ghidorah juice, he's got these blue puffs of electricity that spark and circulate throughout his core, and it's awesome. He just looks great. This takes away the light up features of Mechagodzilla and makes him just kind of boring. Even on the original, they went a step further and gave him these kind of red chest details that are completely missing on this one. So it's not like I'm crazy just saying they could have put these red highlights, because they've done it before on the original Mechagodzilla and now they're missing. He's just bland. This Mechagodzilla also, by the way, features a giant gaping hole in the top of his mouth because they just reused the exact same sculpt. They sculpted him so that he could be able to do the Proton Scream himself, and then they took that accessory away so that they could make another figure and make twice the money on the same amount of work. What's the point? If you're not going to give him the red splashes all throughout him and the blue highlights, what's the point of doing a variant Mechagodzilla? You just haven't done enough to justify the need for this thing to exist. We'll get into the figure comparison section here. Standing next to each other, the two do look good together. Of course they're going to look good together because they're the same figure. Repaints always look good next to the original, and so here's the repaint next to the original. Just doesn't do enough to justify its existence. I would much rather have the original that looks more mechanical and like the Mechagodzilla in the movie than this guy who just aesthetically is boring. Although I do kind of like the way it contrasts with the red spines, the way it contrasts with the red beam, and the reason they've darkened him up is because of course red and black go together really well, better than red and silver. Add the highlights, do something to justify this thing's existence, and they just didn't. Here's Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. They can now complete the beam battle from the film. Just cool stuff. Oh, Mechagodzilla, you straight lost. This is a different timeline, buddy. Kind of similar how they did a darkened Godzilla with a more translucent dorsal spine pattern so that they could justify the existence of having him do the atomic breath. It's a very similar approach to what they've done with Mechagodzilla here. And I will admit, these two figures look great together. These are super fun to have together. This would be a good playset if they released these two together. Then it would justify both of their existence because you're getting more bang for your buck with both of them. It's no different at the end of the day, but you'd at least feel like you're getting something new and fresh and fun if you're getting a playset with both of them. There's an idea for you. It's a little late now. Here's Mechagodzilla's nemesis, Kong, the one with the axe, which I don't think the axe could have really done a ton against the Proton Blast. Wouldn't have powered it up or anything. But there's the two of them together. Now you can have a Kong versus a Mechagodzilla second fight with a Kong and a Mechagodzilla. We always like a Kong versus Mechagodzilla. And the two do look pretty solid together. Not as good as the Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla duo, but they look pretty fun together. I like having the two of them. Giving Mechagodzilla a fighting chance here. Here's the Skullcrawler. This guy's just enormous in scale compared to what he should be in the film. Like, this guy I think could clobber the Mechagodzilla for sure. Now you can have Mechagodzilla firing his beam straight down your Skullcrawler's mouth. It's always fun to just smash figures into each other, which is kind of what the movie Godzilla vs. Kong is. And I like it. Stepping outside of our weight class for just a moment, here's SH Monster Arts' Godzilla 2021. You can really notice the difference in quality. Like, the Godzilla is just so much more rich and intricate, not only in terms of the articulation, but just the sculpt and the paint job and the aesthetic and overall everything. The only reason I got him out was because I wanted to get this Kong out. Now this is my victory version Kong with the Mechagodzilla head, and I just wanted to show off the difference in the Mechagodzilla heads and how wildly more detailed and intricate the SH Monster Arts Mechagodzilla head is compared to this Playmates one. We got another Kong fighting a Mechagodzilla, the Kong who actually killed Mechagodzilla. Now you can have some sort of alternate universe where he can take on two Mechagodzillas, I don't know, or one in a head. Obviously the Kong's gonna look way better, and the Mechagodzilla head just looks phenomenally better. Alright guys, that'll do it for this one. Go get you a discontinued Mechagodzilla COLA. They're not very good. That's all my thoughts on this guy. If I had to rate this guy, I just don't think he justifies his existence, so I'm gonna give him a pretty low rating despite the fact that he's got good articulation, a good sculpt. I'm gonna give him a 5 out of 10. I don't really recommend him. The only thing that you could get out of it is the beam, and again, the beam's lazy because it's also retooled from a different figure. Pretty lazy figure here, 5 out of 10. Is it worth clearance price? Yeah, sure, but nothing more than clearance price, I'd say. There's the Mechagodzilla with the Proton Scream, but at least least now I got 2 Mechagodzillas. So now that my Mechagodzilla army in the background can start to stand a chance. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. If you want to check out the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. It's through the support I get from the Patreon that I can do videos like this for you in the first place, videos like these unboxings. So big thank you to the patrons over there. If you guys have this figure, what do you think of him? Was I too harsh on him? I don't think I was. What do you guys think? Did you guys like this version? Do you guys like this version more than the original? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Comment below, let me know. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out.